What if I told you that all of crypto was insider trading? What if I told you that all of everything was insider trading? A lot of people think that to get ahead in crypto, you have to do something along the lines of insider trading. And the insider information is actually publicly available to everybody. Nowadays, luckily for you, you don't actually have a problem with the information not being available. The information's all out there. You just need to direct your attention towards the insider information that already exists, but nobody else is paying attention to. Now let me bring up a story about Andrew Carnegie. He used to work for the Pennsylvania Railroad. He basically built an entire empire and all of his fortune on the railroads way back in the day. And this guy, what he would do is he knew in advance where all the railroad routes were being planned. So he would go and buy land where all the railroads, he knew there were going to be railroads. And he would buy all that land because he knew in 5 or 10 years, massive cities would form around these certain areas, like Boulder, Colorado, or all these areas in the West that weren't populated yet, but that would be when he built the railroads. And that's because he was the one building them. And him and his elite friends were the ones taking advantage of the system. And nowadays, people sit around and say, oh, well, crypto, you gotta be an insider, it's all insider information. And guess what? They're correct. But what are you gonna do about it? You're gonna pay attention and act on the same information that everybody else has? Because the playing field nowadays has been leveled. With the internet, with the access to information, the democratization of everything, it has never been easier to get the same information that Wall Street analysts used to have to get even 20 years ago. You can just find this stuff online, and I'm gonna find it for you and show you why I'm betting so heavily on PulseChain and why I'm seeing these trends that seem so obvious. Because the problem is not that you can't find the insider information. The problem is that you're paying attention to everything else that's not the insider information. So let's start off with a publicly available chart right here, showing the growth rate of the internet versus the growth rate of crypto. And look, they didn't even pick the first year that crypto started. They said as if crypto started in the year 2016 and as if the internet started in the year 1992. Look at the trajectory of the growth. And crypto is the green line, obviously growing faster than the internet. And this is real data right in front of your eyes. It's easier for crypto to grow because it's piggybacking off the back of the internet, which already exists. And you can see all the users. It's not like you have to be some CEO of Microsoft to read this public data and realize that a lot of people are piling onto crypto. And so this is the insider information that if you're paying attention, you can position yourself into ecosystems like PulseChain, like I'm heavily positioned in, because you're simply just paying attention to so-called insider information. But the real inside scoop here is that everybody is just too apathetic to care. Everybody's just doom scrolling through TikTok all day. They're not taking anything seriously. They're frying their dopamine. So while yes, all the information's never been easier to get, it's also never been harder to pay attention and to focus on what the actual future looks like. And what does the future look like for PulseChain? Okay, we've got up 20% all around on the week, even 47% in the case of Hex. And some things that are easy to know, that are statistical, that you can look at, some numbers, are, for example, in PulseX, there's an automated buy and burn mechanism. All the trading that goes through the decentralized exchange that the PulseX token represents, some fraction of the fees that go through this decentralized exchange every single day get burned forever. So they get bought and burned. Bought means the price goes up, burn means the supply goes down. And look at these on-chain statistics, okay? $35 million worth of tokens has been bought and burned. That's buy pressure and burn pressure. And out of the total supply of 17 trillion, that is a very large percentage. Okay, that's about 1% of the total market cap even. And a lot of the coins are dormant. So really this is something more like 7 or 8% of the circulating supply has been burned forever based on automatic trading fees that you know are happening regardless of what token people are trading. So all the meme coins, any volume at all, the trading fees get captured and routed to benefiting your token if you hold PulseX. Now, is this insider information? Kind of. It's insider in the sense of the average Joe probably doesn't realize that because they're not watching this video. But congratulations, you now know that, so you can make a decision on whether you think that's good for the future. I obviously do. I have a whole bunch of PulseX, and look at the scarcity of PLS itself too. The PulseChain supply, people don't talk about this, but it might be being burned at an even faster rate than PLSX. Now, PulseChain's a clone of Ethereum. We're gonna talk about why Ethereum is bigger than Bitcoin, or it's gonna be bigger than Bitcoin, in my opinion. But hold that thought for now, because let's just talk about PulseChain, PLS token, and how that's scarce as well. We'll scroll down here to the supply, the burn metrics. We could see from a combination of things, such as the meme coin generator Pump.Tires burns about $20,000 a day on average. And when the network gets busy, the PLS token itself sometimes gets burned at about 8 billion in this 30-day time window. And the more people use the network, the more blocks are generated, meaning the more fees get burned. So you know that even with minimal usage, I mean, this is probably the lowest that PulseChain will ever have in terms of adoption. It's only 2 years old. We've been in the long downtrend for 2 years. And the fact that there's still coins being burned based on the usage near the lows means, what if the usage picks up? More PulseX is gonna get burned, more PLS is gonna get burned. And this is just a mathematical certainty. If there is more demand, if there is more usage, more coins are never coming back. the asset will become more scarce over time. Now, on top of that, you've got legal clarity, because Richard Hart and PulseChain and Hex and PulseX defeated the SEC, which was a big point of contention, a big fear for a lot of people. Now, the insider information is that, well, a lot of people still associate PulseChain falsely with having some kind of sketchiness or some SEC lawsuit, when in reality it actually defeated the SEC and the judge dismissed the case. So the legal case doesn't actually exist anymore. But here's something crazy. Okay, so people doing their own research might simply still be looking at the SEC website, because of course they haven't taken this off yet, and just see, oh, Richard Hart is being sued by the SEC, not realizing that this is about 2 years old. You know, the SEC suing PulseChain and the founder Richard Hart has been long dismissed. But if people are just reading the SEC.gov website, well, the federal government is notoriously inefficient, so I doubt they're going to update their website anytime soon. But you could just read one of the many other articles that talks about the victory and the judge dismissing that whole case altogether. So legal clarity is something that the rest of the world still hasn't caught on to yet. And here we've got a how it started versus how it's going. The US SEC on July 31st, 2023 claimed that the Hex and PulseChain founder Richard Hart defrauded investors. And a couple months ago, the US judge dismissed it in court, according to Reuters, very reputable news article. So if you think about all these blockchains as the new digital railroads, okay, I actually do. I think that blockchain technology is a metaphor for digital real estate, because eventually the whole entire world is moving online, so you need a method of value transfer. And crypto is the democratization of value transfer. It's value transfer built for the internet age. The internet did to information what crypto is doing to value transfer. It's putting the power in the hands of the people. Everybody can have their own token. Every token is just valued based on people's belief in it. But people are clearly believing at it at a rate so fast that there's no way to go back. The snowball is rolling down the hill. You can't stop it at this point. So we could take the crypto annual growth rate. We can show you more charts as well to prove that, you know, the Wild West of the crypto age on the internet, right? The railroads, the digital railroads that are being built right now are expanding with no intention of going backwards. And do you want to get left behind or not? So here's an example of stablecoins. Okay, stablecoins are the US government's digital dollars. Now, what does the US government want? Well, they want to push their dollars out to the entire world. They're just as greedy as everybody else. The US dollar is just the crypto of the government. The government's had their own cryptocurrency for a long time. It's called the dollar. And look at this chart of the market cap of stablecoins going from 60 million total in 2018 to 122 billion today. It really does not take a genius to figure out that this chart is going up and to the right. Even during the bear market, yes, it went from 100 billion to 70 billion, but now it's back up to 130 billion, okay? Now, do you think this trend is going to continue, or do you think that this is going to go straight to zero? Look, if the internet goes down, or if all of crypto goes down, we've got bigger problems. Probably something along the lines of a meteor hitting the earth or a global war. I don't even want to entertain that idea. But as long as the human race can keep it together and the whole world doesn't fall apart, this number is going to keep going up. And stablecoins are launched on Ethereum. They're not launched on Bitcoin. 75% of the stablecoins that exist today are launched on Ethereum, and the other 25% are launched on similar networks to Ethereum. I know I've mentioned this before, but PulseChain is a clone of Ethereum. It's a copy. It's a horizontal scaling solution. So if there is more demand for digital real estate and digital highways, there will be demand for the tokens like Ethereum and PulseChain as well. It's funny, even the transaction fees on Ethereum and on PulseChain, they're called gas fees. Why are they called gas fees? Because it's a metaphor to being digital oil. Okay, so these blockchain networks are the digital roads, and what you're buying is digital oil, because everybody needs to buy some of the base layer token to participate on the network, whether they want to buy some meme coin, whether they want to buy stable coins. The gateway drug, the thing you have to have is the digital oil. Okay, some people call it the layer 1 token. ETH, PLS, BTC, these are all just different layer 1 tokens. And every time you do a transaction, you pay the fee in this token. So it seems obvious, right? It seems obvious that when you look at old-fashioned centralized exchanges to the new decentralized exchanges, people are using decentralized exchanges way more. These are just internet-based exchanges where there's no middleman, there's no company behind it. It's just a piece of code that you put in one token, you get out a different token. You trade token A for token B. Anybody can provide liquidity, anybody can make a trade, and the DEX volumes on decentralized exchanges are up from 1% in 2019, 1% to over 20% today. Now, what do you think this trend is going to do? I mean, this was in 2023. Okay, now we're in 2025. The actual decentralized exchange volume is up to 25% of all exchange volume. So the entire world within the next 10 years is probably going to be using decentralized exchanges. This number is probably going to be at 80 or 90% in 2030 if the trend continues at an exponential rate like it already is. And you can do what Carnegie did. You can buy some digital oil. You can participate in the new Wild West movement, which is online, which is buying a part of a new country, a digital country. a value system that's not connected by borders on land and governments. It's just value systems based on people's belief in the value system. And you've got different sectors of belief. But if we know that Ethereum is popular and that Ethereum is probably going to overtake Bitcoin because it's more useful, because all of the dollars are launching, the digital dollars are launching on Ethereum, well, then we know PulseChain's a clone of Ethereum. We know there's going to be more demand for chains like ETH. And PulseChain, in terms of its similarity to ETH, really doesn't get much different. They're basically the same chain, except that PulseChain is cheaper and faster. So if there's any overflow, which there already has been, I can give you 5 or 10 examples of like Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, Polygon Network. These are all cheaper, faster alternatives to Ethereum. And they did so well, they did hundreds of X's because there is so much demand for alternatives to Ethereum. It gets too expensive. So when there's too much load and too much pressure and Ethereum becomes a victim of its own success, people turn to alternatives. And all that you have to bet on is that there's a community here keeping the lights on that's still innovating. When I look around PulseChain, in terms of the community, the founder, the technology, it's a pretty sure bet that it's not going anywhere, and it's a pretty sure bet that it's only going to be bigger in the future than it is today, not smaller. And as long as you think that PulseChain is going to be bigger in the future than it is today, then you can ride along with this trend and join the global movement that's happening right in front of your eyes and use this insider information to your advantage, because the real insider information is that no one else is paying attention. Everyone's too lazy and too scared to take the risk and too distracted to look at the numbers happening right in front of their face. So you've got the insider information that people wish they had back in the day. But you know what? Back in the days of Carnegie, I'm sure people could have done their homework and figured out the same stuff that Carnegie did. I'm here telling you similar information for the modern age. But the main reason that you're not going to get financially free and wealthy from crypto is because you're not going to pay attention. You're not going to focus. You're being endlessly distracted. And you're not going to be able to act upon the information that in the future, people are going to think was insider information. When PulseChain goes 100x higher, people are going to wonder how you made such a decision with such foresight, when really it was just a matter of paying attention. So it's never been easier to get the insider information. The hard part today is to realize that what you have already available to you is the insider information of 5 years from now. Hope this made sense. Like, subscribe, share, leave a comment. I'm heavily positioned in PulseChain, PLSX, and I expect amazing things are going to be happening in terms of marketing and global outreach. It really would not take many millions of dollars to send all of these coins parabolic, so it is still early. Pay attention before it's too late. Take things seriously. See you on the next one.